been a little while, but we're back for the KDLT Sports Extra Point Video Blog. Been a busy couple months since I think we last did this in November, and it only gets busier. Summit League tournament starts tomorrow. Kind of fair to say this has kind of become, even though we have a lot of events now in town, it's kind of the crown jewel for Sioux Falls this time of year.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. As long as South Dakota State and USD are both playing and come in with championship aspirations, it's huge. Although I got to say, the Sweet 16 when it gets here is maybe the biggest sporting event we've ever had here in the city, but and the state for that matter. But yes, the Summit League is going to be hard to ever pass by in terms of importance.
Well, and that's kind of maybe it's what sets the stage for us getting the Sweet 16, maybe even the NCAA men's tournament down the line, maybe even some of these NSIC tournaments and other things that are coming here. I think they've seen what the Summit League have done and figured out this is a pretty good region for basketball.
I kind of doubt we're ever going to get a men's tournament just because the venues that they have them at are so much larger in terms of capacity. But the Summit League was the highest attended women's conference tournament in the country last year. So we've certainly proven that we follow and we are excited about women's basketball here. Not to say that we're not about men, but I think the NCAA made a wise choice, and I'm curious to see how well supported it is and how many people come, even though there isn't a USD or a state in it, probably. I mean, there's
an
outside chance. That'd be awesome if there was. But let's just say there aren't. You're looking at 4 of the best 16 teams left in the country. It's going to be wonderful. But in the meantime, yes, the Summit League tournament starts on a big day Saturday. All 4 of our local teams play on Saturday, so it's going to be rocking.
Let's start with that women's bracket. Kind of same as it ever was. It's SDSU and USD at the top, which is basically what it's been the last 4 years. I don't necessarily want to pencil those two in yet for the title game because IUPUI has been really good and actually came within a double overtime of sweeping SDSU. But once again, these two teams kind of look like the clear-cut favorites to be there.
They do, and they've got a lot of experience too. I really like the experience of USD. They got Nicole Seecamp back for 1 extra year that they weren't thinking they were going to have her playing this year.
Senior days.
Yeah, and they've got 5 seniors on that team that all play big roles on the team. They were part of that team that went to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago down at Iowa State, and I mean, going into this kind of an event, having the experience of playing here this many times is certainly an advantage. Although everybody on that SDSU team, for the most part, aside from Maddie, has been in this situation too because they beat USD in the championship game last year, and I went with them out to Oregon State. And so, they're a veteran team too.
This year, though, USD has swept SDSU. It's the first time they won at Frost Arena for the first time in nearly 3 decades. That also kind of, I've heard some Coyote fans a little nervous, though. They're like, well, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. Can this if they do match up, is USC, do they have that kind of team that can do that?
Oh, I think they do. It is hard to beat a team 3 times, especially if they're a good team. And these are 2 really good teams. But yeah, I don't think there's any question they've got the kind of team that could win all 3, but I certainly wouldn't be shocked at all if Aaron Johnson's team wins it because they did it last year. I think everybody thought USD was going to win it last year, and they got off to a horrific start in that championship game last year. They just couldn't shoot, and that'll be the difference. I mean, if they can be relaxed and come out and shoot well, I would give the edge to USD, but South Dakota State's got such a great program and so much tradition and so many good players. I mean, it's not just tradition. They've got a good team again this year. I think either one of those teams is going to win the championship.
And you also know that we have yet to, through the history of this tournament and when they played USD, the crowd is pretty much, I would say, 80-20, 70-30 blue.
Well, it was last year especially, but, I do think we had Scott Nagy on Calling All Sports on Thursday, and we were kind of talking about that. And he said, the SDSU fans have been in this D1 thing longer and realized that you have to buy your tickets way in advance. I think USD fans learned that last year, the people that couldn't go to that championship game, and I would expect to see more red in the crowd this year. But SDSU fans are tops when it comes to supporting their team. They're tremendous.
Well, you mentioned Scott Nagy. That's a good segue into the men's tournament.
Thank you.
Very good segue. Yeah. That's why he's paid for the big bucks.
Oh yeah.
Well,
really big bucks.
You've been here for every one of the Summit League tournaments. I think this is the 8th one now since 2009.
I've been here for an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, awful lot of stuff. But for this tournament specifically on the men's side, I've heard it said, and I kind of agree. I don't think I've ever seen a year. I've covered it 4 times. I think you, and like I said, you've done it 8. I've never seen a year where there's not really 1 or 2 clear-cut favorites on the men's side. It feels like there's at least 3, maybe 4 teams that could come out on Tuesday night and win the championship. Fort Wayne's your number 1 seed. SDSU's your number 2. Omaha, I think, is really dangerous in their first year of eligibility. I'm not even counting out NDSU either. If they're healthy, they have a lot of people back from last year's team and maybe a little more favorable bracket to go through. It's wide open on the men's side, as wide open as I've ever seen it.
I think Nebraska-Omaha is the team to be scared of. They can score a lot of points. They've got tremendous athletes on their team. And they seem to get in these 96, 92 games all the time, and they usually win. So they'd be the team I'd be most concerned about. I still like South Dakota State's chances for sure, but Fort Wayne's a good team. So you're right. I think there's 3 teams that could win it.
It's interesting because Scott Nagy, and if there's one place the Jacks have not really replaced Cody Larson, it's on the defensive end, because Scott Nagy, when they have lost, has repeatedly pointed out the defense being bad. But this is a year where there is not bad, but they've had their...
They got the 3rd best defense in the league and the 3rd best offense in the league.
But I would say that this is one of those years where it's not really a defensive league. I mean, that's where an Omaha really does scare you, because there's not a defensive stopper of a team in this league, and when you have an offense like that, they can really get out and go.
Yeah, well, that's why I brought that up. I think and plus they've kind of got nothing to lose. It's their first year in this thing, and they can be relaxed. And holy cow, I mean, they can score a lot of points.
They're fun. I mean, they're probably the most fun team to watch in the league. They will play on Sunday. The schedule, by the way, the SDSU men play at 8:30 against Oral Roberts, who Oral Roberts has had a disappointing year to be seeded 7th. They had the preseason player of the year. SDSU just played them, and it was a fairly close game in Frost Arena, so it's not necessarily the easiest number 7 draw you could get.
Yeah, that was senior night, I believe.
Yeah.
And
they did beat him bad in Tulsa. But
yeah,
that was a while back.
I think the Jacks were a little distracted in that game. Not to use that as an excuse, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, Saturday's just going to be a fun day.
And also USD playing at 6 o'clock against Fort Wayne. Now, they were swept by Fort Wayne this year, including a game where the player of the year, Max Landis, put up 44 in the Dakota Dome. But a year ago, Craig Smith's team beat Fort Wayne in this tournament. Granted, Fort Wayne was only about a 4 seed at that point, but a little bit of confidence. Some of these guys were out there. Casey Kasperbauer gets hot. You never know what could happen in that game.
Tyler Flack's one of the most exciting players in the league. If you haven't seen him play, I mean, he'll get 2 or 3 dunks in that game, I'm guessing. They're going to have to play great basketball to beat Fort Wayne, but, you know, that's the beauty of a 3-day tournament like this. The 8 seed could win just as easily as the number 1 seed. They're all undefeated at this point. They're all 0-0, and the team that wins 3 straight games goes to the national tournament. And I love Craig Smith's attitude and his enthusiasm, and I just think he's going to do wonders for the program, especially the longer he is ingrained in it and he starts getting his guys.
Remember, they got 3 of their better players who were on the bench this year, 3 of those Division I transfers that will be there when they open the – oh, by the way, they open the new arena next year.
Yeah. I've been covering games since the Dome was built and have never really cared much for it as a basketball arena. It's a fun place to watch a football game. Although the Coyotes have won 75% of their games at the Dome over the years, and they've always had really good shooting teams. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to the new basketball, volleyball arena. I just think that's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, and it looks amazing now. I mean, same deal with the new digs up at SDSU for the football stadium. Kind of amazing where everything's gone in the last year or two. Well, we'll have plenty of coverage all week long from the Summit League tournament. Stick to KDLT, our Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, our TV
Let's also
station.
mention the fact that the NAIA tournament starts.
I'm getting there. I'm just plugging it first. We're going in order here, but again,
we'll be out there
plenty
all the time.
Plenty of coverage.